This video is brought to you by Squarespace. Okay, it is Friday. You know what that means? Mail time. I'm actually going to start because I ran out of time in the last mail video with this, which comes to us from the Curious Society. Curiously large. This comes to us from Kenneth Jericho, I think I'm saying that right, who is president of the Curious Society, who writes, "Dear Ted, I love the art of photography. You do good work. Congratulations, as that's not always an easy thing to do these days. I wanted to share our first issue with you. Currently, we are working to get our second issue on press. The Curious Society is a nonprofit newsroom that informs, educates, and supports working photojournalists. We properly license their work and present it in the best possible way, which we believe is a beautiful, oversized publication. Journalism matters. It's the first draft of history, the fourth estate, and it's the linchpin of democracy. Photojournalism plays a unique role as people believe what they see, and photojournalists, by the very nature of their medium, can only report on the events that they actually witness. Great images move us. They capture our dreams, both big and small. They record our failures and celebrate our accomplishments. When it's done properly, photojournalism moves us in all the right directions. Idealists and optimists are drawn to photojournalism with grandiose thoughts of changing the world. They believe the images they make will improve how people act. This rarely happens in a dramatic manner, and it happens nonetheless, albeit on a small scale. I proudly confess to being both an idealist and an optimist. I sincerely hope you love our publication. All the best, Kenneth." So, Kenneth, this is really nicely done, and you guys should check this out. There's some really big names. This is not amateur photography. This is people like Douglas Kirkland, Eli Reed, David Burnett's in here, Youngie Kim. This is like the real deal. So, Kenneth, really nicely done. I'll put a link in the show description. Next up is a little zine called 52-4. This comes to us from Darren, who writes, "Hi, Ted. I thought I would send you both a recent zine, as the kids say, and a postcard." That's the postcard. "I regularly print these small collections of photos, and I make a new postcard every month. I send them to just about anybody who wants one, so thanks for the show. Some great stuff. Best, Darren." Actually, this is very cool. At the end of the zine here, he has a little thing about his postcard project, and if you want to receive a postcard, and I hope I don't just max him out and kill him on this, but here's the QR code if you want a postcard, so check it out. Nice work, Darren. It's a gorgeous little book. All right, next up, this is really cool. This is an assortment of little abstract images that I'll share with you. These come to us from John, who writes, "Hello, Ted. I have watched your channel for a while now. I thought I would share some of the chemigrams that I have been working on over the past couple of years. Although the process does not involve a camera, it's the most fun one can legally have in the darkroom. At any rate, it's a good use of expired paper. Very respectfully, John." John, this is exceptional work. For those who don't know what a chemigram is, it's simply using darkroom chemicals and light in some ways, so no camera involved, in a darkroom to create these abstract images. These are gorgeous, man. Thank you. Okay, this is cool in about 20 different ways, and allow me to get into this. So this is a publication called Grit Street. It comes to us from a gentleman in Brooklyn named Eric Anderson. And I really enjoyed this format a lot. So you guys might remember, I don't know, last month when we did a thing called Swim Time by John Peabody that was essentially a zine that was done on newsprint. Well, we've got another one today. So I want to share this note that Eric wrote here, as well as the zine. And he writes, "Hello, Ted. I wanted to print something for the longest time, but it had to serve a purpose beyond me just looking for a print on my wall. So I had printed this newsprint self-promo portfolio featuring some of my street photography, which is available through a fine art consultancy called Farm Boy Fine Arts. I hope you enjoy flipping through it. It might be a good option for a print piece for contrast, if that's still on your radar anyway. Love the show, Eric." Eric, thank you for sending. This is absolutely gorgeous. I don't know what it is. I've got this thing for photography zines that are done on newsprint. This is a really nice promo. It's just different. It's different than any of the stuff that comes in, and it's just so tactile and cool. One thing I want to share with you is Eric also put his business card in the envelope. I don't know if you can read this here. Eric is a designer at Squarespace. I swear that this wasn't planned, but this just might be the smoothest segue to a sponsor placement that I've ever done. And I do want to recognize Squarespace because I was thinking about this earlier. Squarespace have been a sponsor of this show since I think I did my first ad for Squarespace in 2012, so that would be 10 years now. And that's pretty awesome. And the reason that I want to say that is because they take care of this channel. They've taken care of me. They make it possible so I can eat and do all this awesome stuff and make videos and share all this great work with you guys. So without further ado, I'm going to give a shout out to our sponsor this week, who are the awesome folks over at Squarespace. squarespace.com. Listen, you need a website, and we all know how much work that is to build and maintain, but it doesn't have to be. Squarespace is by far the easiest way to build your online presence. It's also the best way to grow a business that works for you without having to write a single line of code. Do you just need a simple portfolio or a blog to showcase your work? Well, Squarespace is perfect. Featuring a drag and drop interface. It's intuitive, it allows you to build galleries quickly and update your site with ease. Are you running a business? Well, Squarespace gives you additional tools for things like appointment scheduling, private member areas, social media tools, and even advanced email marketing. Do you sell products or services? Well, Squarespace has you covered with complete tools to power your store, from merchandising to checkout, so that you can sell, ship, and build your customer base. You can even sell classes or manage appointments through your website. And with Squarespace extensions, you can easily sync with third parties to manage, optimize, and enhance your website. From social media integration to SEO, Squarespace gives you all the tools you need to grow a business that works for you. So head over to Squarespace and sign up for the free trial. Start with one of their award-winning templates and see what you can create and just how good you're going to look. When you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/AOP and I can save you an additional 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Just use the offer code AOP on checkout. So give it a try and see if Squarespace is right for you. And I want to give a special shout out and thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. So next up is a collection of prints in this awesome little Kodak professional paper bag. These come to us from No Alonzo, who writes, Ted, I'm pretty sure that you don't know me, but I watch all your videos, and you were one of the reasons that I decided to start my own photography channel on YouTube. I feel as though most photography channels on YouTube only focus on the latest and greatest and quote-unquote must-have best gear and whatnot without actually focusing on the art of photography. This is why I enjoy your videos. Not only the education, but they are also inspiring. So I am sending you these photos about my preferred style of photography. I shoot mainly neon noir photos, but also infrared with a modified camera. I know the majority of photographers prefer portraits, street, nature, or landscape images, but this is what I do, and this is what I love doing, even if it's not or never will be popular. I want to be known as the photographer that goes out to shoot every time it rains and snows at night. Anyways, thanks for keeping it real and helping photographers find their way. Fellow Texan living in Seoul, South Korea, No Alonzo. P.S. Let me treat you to Korean barbecue if you ever visit Seoul. No, you can count on that. I love Korean barbecue and I really love these prints, so thank you for sharing. I love that whole idea of neon noir. That's very cool. So here's a little trivia for you. So I actually have been to Seoul, South Korea. It's been a long time. Back in the late 80s when the Olympics were held in Seoul. So my dad is an artist and he was hired by the Korean Olympic Committee. They were building a museum at the time that was going to commemorate the Olympics after they were over. And so we had this amazing opportunity when I was, I don't know, how old was I? 8th grade, like, is that 14 or something, to go over to Seoul, see the Olympics. I was there for 2 weeks. It was pretty amazing. It's been a while though since I've been to Seoul, and I do love Korean barbecue, so perhaps time for another trip over. Anyway, I want to address something that No says in his little letter here. Full disclosure, No, I have not seen your YouTube channel yet, but I will check it out as soon as I'm done filming today. I will put a link in the show description with everybody else below as well. But I want to address something that he writes in here, and he says, I know the majority of photographers prefer portraits, street, nature, or landscape images, but this is what I do and this is what I love doing, even if it is not or will never be popular. This, my friends, is exactly what your mode of operation should be. There is a lot of truth in that statement. There is, I mean, if you go on Instagram, you go on Flickr, you go online anywhere, there's a lot of kind of similar things that people want to see. And I will be the first to admit, when I do camera reviews, that's what people want to see. If it's a portrait lens, they want to see some portraits. That's not really how I work, but I kind of make do the best I can, because if I don't do those types of videos, nobody ever discovers this channel. So a little secret there. But that is exactly the mode that you should be in, and that's what everyone should be striving for. What kind of a life is worth striving for where you want to do the same thing that like 1,000 people have already done? It doesn't make sense. But to be fair, that is how human beings operate. The other side of that coin that I want to mention, and this is why you should strive to do things that are very personal to you, even if they're different. In fact, I would go on a limb and say especially if they are different and they're unusual and they're unique and they're not like everything else, is when you think of what is popular in so many cases. And I think, in my world, Pretty much everything I've ever been interested in is a little bit on the outside, and this goes for the music that I listened to when I was a kid, continuing to the music that I listen to today is not stuff that's popular. The albums and the records that I like listening to will never outsell Britney Spears, or they will never outsell Michael Jackson. They are not popular. They don't do what everybody else does. That is why I'm attracted to that kind of stuff, and I think the same for me holds true in photography. I'll give you an example. It's on the shelf here. One second. Okay, so this book is probably one of the best-known photography books ever made. This is Henri Cartier-Bresson's The Decisive Moment. This is a reissue of this book that Steidl did that I bought probably in about 2015 or so. Actually, I bought it the first time I ever went to the Leica store in Los Angeles. I couldn't afford a Leica, but I could afford the book, so I went ahead and purchased this. Little-known fact about Decisive Moment. I'm going to say it again. This is probably one of the most famous photography books ever made in the entire oeuvre of photography books the world has ever produced. Decisive Moment was a commercial flop when it came out. This book did not do well at all. People didn't know what to do with it. It's a picture book. I mean, you have Henri Cartier-Bresson, who was very successful in his career as a photojournalist, and so he had that going for him, but nobody really knew what to do with this art book. My point is this has persevered over time to be one of the most famous books ever produced in the world of photography. My point being is that Henri and the publisher were not trying necessarily to do what was popular. They were trying to make something of substance that was unique, that had a little bit of oomph behind it, that would survive the test of time. My point, though, is that it's really important to be original, even though it's difficult. And the reason that being original is difficult is because you're going out on a limb. You're creating something that isn't necessarily something that's mainstream or people are going to recognize. You're just kind of doing it for you, and then you have to get behind it, get better at it, and do it because you believe in it. Look at any great photographer in the history of photography, and they have all done this. It sounds so simple, but it's actually one of the hardest things that you could possibly do as a photographer. Anyway, no, I love your work. Thank you for sending it. I'm going to go ahead and end this here now. So if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. I'm going to link up everybody they showed the work of today in the description. Nice job, everyone. These are my favorite videos to do. I love seeing new work from new people, and it's been awesome. So till next time, see you then. Later.